Today we're talking about wireless transmitters for video cameras, talking about the Hollyland Mars 300 and the Accsoon CineEye, and we're gonna see which one is better and which one that you should get to be able to monitor your video signal wirelessly. So for me, wireless video is something that I need on my bigger shoots. So I typically will have client monitors somewhere else in the room, in another room, so that the director, the producer, or the clients can all see what it is that I'm shooting and they don't have to be over my shoulder. And also just for playback, I can have bigger monitors rather than having just my camera and my little monitor or my Ninja V that I use to monitor off of the GH5S. Guys, if you're new here, my name is Jevin Dovey. I do a lot of filmmaking tutorials, product reviews, and also I like to do YouTube training. So make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on those bell notifications so you don't miss one of these reviews. So typically when I am sending my video signal from my camera to the client, what I'm doing is I put a big HDMI cable between, usually 50-foot HDMI cable, and I have it coming from every camera. I typically shoot with 2 to 3 cameras on my bigger shoots. So if you're doing like an interview, you might have 2 cameras. If you're doing something bigger, you might have 3 cameras. But when you start introducing all these cables into your workflow on set, it starts getting really messy really fast. So you could have your power cable, your HDMI, your audio, all of it could be running to your camera, and it just causes issues when you need to move cameras around and you need to be a little bit more free. So that's where wireless video transmission comes in. So basically this is my setup, and I use a GH5S with a Ninja V that I stick on here, and then I have a whole rail system that allows me to build it out. And I can put a wireless video transmission system on this whole setup. So I use small rig gear to basically mount up my entire camera, but the less that I can have coming off of this, the more that it makes it free for me to use this in different ways. And so for me on set, the reason that I need things free is when I need to go handheld, so I can pull this off and just run around with this handheld, or if I need to put my camera on a gimbal, or if I'm using something like a motorized slider, then having less cables means you just have to worry more about battery life than cables. So it is a trade-off to some degree. Now we're talking about the Hollyland Mars 300, and this is a very simple wireless transmitter and receiver. So you have 2 boxes. One is a transmitter and one is a receiver. And basically each of these have HDMI, and you can put Sony batteries on the backs of these, and you turn it on and it sends a wireless signal. It's actually a very simple system to use. Now the other wireless transmitter that I've been working with is the Accsoon CineEye. Now these are very different, even though they're like the exact same size, they work very differently. And I'm gonna kind of explain why I would choose, say, the Hollyland over the CineEye or vice versa. Now, when it comes to this Hollyland Mars 300, this is a $500 system. And what you get with the Hollyland is 1 transmitter, 1 receiver. It transmits a signal from 1080p up to 60 frames a second. On your transmitter, you have an HDMI input and you have an HDMI loop out, which is important for anyone that needs a loop out in their system. On the receiver, you have 2 HDMI outputs. So this is good if you need to send it to multiple monitors. So there's times where I'll send it to my audio department as well as sending a signal to the client monitors. So there are times where you might need 2 outputs for 1 transmitter. Now with this, it uses Sony L series batteries, or you can do just a house power. And one of the big selling points is that it's 0 latency. So yes, there is gonna be some latency, but it's so minimal that you barely even see it at all. So with the Hollyland, it actually works very well, and I've been using it nonstop on all my shoots recently. And I really think that you need to test a product and use it in real world settings to really get a feeling for how a product works. So I've been using this on all of my productions recently. I've been putting it on one of my cameras, and I've been testing it as like an A/B test with just an HDMI plugged in racing across the room. Now, in terms of setup, it's super simple. You just have to make sure that you have batteries charged. I've used a range of batteries, small and large, and typically these don't really draw that much power, so I only have to switch the batteries out once in a while. Now on a full day of shooting, I would say the majority of the day these stay connected. There's definitely times where it's not perfect. So as you can see, it'll get out of sync or it will start causing a delay. And then what you'll need to do is just switch channels, or you'll need to turn it off, turn it back on, and kind of just fidget with it a little bit. So that's one of the downsides when it comes to just wireless transmitters in general. When you're working with them, they're not always perfect. And these have been pretty strong across the board. They're not perfect always, and I don't think there's any system that's ever gonna be perfect all the time. But the majority of the time, these stay connected, and you have a clean signal that when you put it next to your other monitors that just has an HDMI plugged in directly, you can watch them side by side, and there's not really a difference between each monitor. So they are synced up, there's zero latency. I would say yes, this is a solid product, and I actually will continue to use this on shoots moving forward. Now, a lot of people are interested in the CineEye. So the CineEye is interesting, and I did a whole review on this product individually when it first came out. And this is cool because the CineEye is like an all-in-one. It's a transmitter, but what's cool is this sends a signal to your smartphone. So you actually don't need a receiver. Now, this is good and bad depending on what type of shooter you are. If you're just running on like a gimbal and you need something quick and easy and you just want to send the signal really quick, then this would be the one to go for. Because this does work, you can hook up to 4 different devices to this, so you could have like 2 tablets and 2 smartphones, and you get a pretty decent signal out of it, and it has an internal battery of 4 hours. So this is just a USB-C on the side, plug it in, charge it up, and you're ready to go. Now, when it comes to bigger shoots, longer days, I usually run like a 10-hour shoot day. This is not gonna stay charged the entire time. Now, one thing that does work with it, that you can plug in and keep it powered. However, now that kind of defeats the purpose of having this wireless transmitter, because you're gonna have it plugged in. Even if you're using a battery pack, you have something else hanging on your camera. So really, this is more useful for like short-term things, when you need to mount it on something and be able to see the shot from a distance, but it's not like you're using it entirely throughout the day. And I'd say that's like a major difference between the two. The Accsoon works great. However, I did take it on a few of my bigger shoots. I took it to New York with me because it was so small. And when I was in New York, I had a chance to test it over 7 days of shooting. And I had this plugged in. It doesn't have a loop through. So there are times, especially when you're using gear like the Shinobi, which is a small monitor, perfect for gimbals. But then if you're trying to add a wireless to that system and have someone else monitor, then you're gonna need a loop through somewhere in the system. So like I said, I used it over the course of 7 days, and after day 2, I ended up not using it anymore. And the reason was it's not a stable connection. So with the CineEye, I have to keep trying to reconnect to the system. Like, it'll work for a period of time and then it might just drop out. And so you have to restart the device or restart the phones, restart the app. There's more things involved that could go wrong, and the app could just freeze up, or the signal's not sending correctly. And what I found is that we ended up just ditching it. So I was using 2 to 3 monitors on set. The client had one, Rachel had one, and then I had one that I was monitoring one of the cameras from, and the signal would work for like 20, 30 minutes, and then I'd have to kind of play with it. The issue is when you're on set, when you're working with clients, you don't have time to always fidget with gear all the time. Now, when it comes to the Hollyland, I never really have to do that when I'm on set. So working with this over the last couple weeks, I've noticed that the signal is pretty stable throughout the entire day. Now, once in a while, I'll have to fidget with it, like maybe once a day, the signal might not start skipping or might start dropping out like I was showing you. However, overall, the signal is pretty clear, especially if you have a clear line of sight. This is up to like 300 feet, clear line of sight. You get a crystal clear picture. It works great to just be able to see the footage that you're shooting. One other huge difference is that the CineEye is around $200. So you're talking a $500 system versus a $200 system. And I think what it comes down to, if you're looking to get a wireless video setup, you have to think about how much time do you want to spend fidgeting with your gear. If you're doing quick shots and you just need to set up and go, then the CineEye works great. But if you're using it over long periods of time throughout the entire day, and you're gonna have it on throughout most of that day, then you're gonna wanna go for the Hollyland because you can swap out batteries. And also the signal is much more stable, and overall the picture is much clearer on the Hollyland. I had a lot more issues working with the CineEye in general, but if you're on like a gimbal, if you're like quick go and you just need to mount this on the top of your camera real quick, well, it's pretty light, so you could just kind of rest it right on your camera. You're not adding a ton of weight to your setup. So obviously if price is a huge factor, you're gonna wanna go for the CineEye because it's about $300 cheaper. However, in general, I need gear to work. So I'm gonna go for the Hollyland Mars 300, and that's gonna be the wireless system that I'm gonna use on my shoots moving forward. All right, guys, I'd love to hear your thoughts about these two wireless systems down in the comments. Do you have one of these? What has your experience been working with this? I'd love to hear from you if you've had a better experience working with the CineEye, or if you've had a not so good experience working with the Hollyland. Let me know down in the comments. All right, guys, that's it. I'll see you on the next one.